During the complicated times of the Reconstruction era in a small town, two hearts dared to cross the chasms of class and race. Jackson Beaumont, the son of a wealthy plantation owner, was every bit the image of Southern nobility, tall with a gaze as deep as the Mississippi and a charm that could disarm the stanchest critic. Meanwhile, Lila, a maid from a neighboring farm, bore the gentle strength and quiet grace of the dogwoods that speckled the landscape. Their love began as all beautiful things do, with a simple act. One sweltering afternoon, as Lila trudged back from the market, her basket brimming but heavy, Jackson happened to be driving by the dusty road. He offered her a ride in his wagon, driven by nothing more than a fleeting act of kindness. Yet, from that moment, as they rumbled along beneath the sprawling oaks, something ineffable shifted between them. As the days melted into weeks, their connection deepened through stolen moments and kisses, exchanged under the cover of twilight. The barn behind the Beaumont's grand estate became their secret rendezvous, a place where whispers and promises hung heavy in the rafters, shielded by the scent of hay and old wood. But as their love blossomed, so too did the tensions within their small community. The aftershocks of war had left gaping wounds, social, economic, and emotional. The divide between rich and poor, black and white, was pronounced, palpable in the sidelong glances and quiet tones that filled the town. Inasmuch they wanted to keep the romance hidden from the prying eye of the community, their love, filled with secret letters and stolen moments and passionate kisses, became an open secret, one that ignited the smoldering prejudices and fears of a community grappling with its identity. Their love became a scandal for others, particularly as the economic divides deepened and racial tensions flared. The local enforcers of the old social order saw in their union a threat that could not be ignored or tolerated. It wasn't long before their attempt to bridge the divides resulted in dire consequences. One dreadful night, the backlash they feared took a horrific turn. A mob, cloaked in the darkness of both night and intent, descended upon Lila's humble home. Flames devoured the wooden structure as Lila was dragged from her bed and bound to a tree in the center of the town. The scene was one of primitive judgment, a terrifying court convened not by law but by hatred. Jackson arrived as a broken whisper of Lila's name escaped through the crowd. The mob presented him with a chilling ultimatum: flog Lila or witness the execution of her father. Trembling, with anguish distorting his features, Jackson was handed a whip. Each lash was a strike against his own soul, and Lila's soft cries pierced the night, lacing it with the harsh snaps of the whip. Lila, bound and weathering the brutal punishment, fell silent, her breaths shallow, her spirit wavering at the brink. Jackson's hands bled, his heart fractured under each crack of the whip, his very being splitting with the realization of what their love had wrought upon them. The dawn did not bring redemption. Lila, barely alive, was cut down from the tree, a specter of the night's cruelty. Jackson, his hands raw and his soul shattered, could do nothing but watch as the love of his life was taken away, her breaths as fragile as the morning mist. In the aftermath, the town returned to a superficial peace, but the scars remained, engraved into the community's memory and deeper still in the hearts of Jackson and Lila. Jackson was left to roam the ghost of his former life, haunted by the night's events and by the love that had driven him to the brink of his own humanity. Lila, broken in body but resilient in spirit, survived, though the life she returned to was a mere shadow of what could have been. Their fairy-tale love story ended not with resolutions but with a lingering question about the nature of justice and the cost of change. In their world, love was not enough to overcome the barriers of race and class. Although Jackson wanted to fight back, he wanted to save their love, but Lila, knowing the impending danger of losing everything including her family members and the love of her life, instead, she chose to break up with him. Their dream of unity became a cautionary story of the depths to which fear and prejudice could drive a community.